We heard already that the word of truth reflects our reality of belonging. And truth can be known, trusted, and seen. Seen in us, in our humility, simplicity, and integrity. It is my privilege to be first one to say thank you to Chris for his paper. And I would like us to watch a video, and that's why I wanted just to say a few words about this video. It is a song, or in a forum song, of daughter talking to her mom. And during this conversation, you will see a lot of pictures from Maidan, central square of Kiev, where a lot of action took place end of November, December, January, and February. And thank you so much to each one of you who've been praying for us as a nation, because as this daughter, as this girl, we were asking a lot of questions. Why? Who is my enemy? Who is making me an enemy? And at the end, daughter is telling to her mom, "Mom, please keep praying for me while I am fighting for the truth." And that's what we will be talking about. Please have a look. What would happen if a person, the church, family, or the whole nation becomes lukewarm in its commitment to God? Faithfulness to God involves more than formal religious observation. Like faith, righteousness is public, not just private. It extends to the political, economical, and social dimensions of life. So, how to protect truth and righteousness in the violent and conflicted society? That was our answer, or a question that I was asked. And based on Daniel 1:8, I would like to propose the following answer: stand for what is right. Daniel 1:8 we read, Daniel made up his mind to eat and drink only what God has approved for his people to eat. And he asked the king's chief official for permission not to eat the food and wine served in the royal palace. Daniel made up his mind. Did I made up my mind to stand for what is right? Does it matter what I eat? Sounds very legalistic as we tell. Does it matter what I read, what I play, what I watch? Does it matter what I do? Moral and spiritual choices have long-term consequences. If we sow seeds of righteousness, we reap the fruit of righteousness. If we sow the seed of rebellion and sin, we will reap a bitter harvest. Do I really believe that? Do I stand for what is right? Why Europe is struggling? How far misuse of human sexuality can take us? Time to make up our mind. Why Russia is struggling? using even religion for political gain is a sin. Time to make up our mind. Why Ukraine is struggling? Integrity and corruption cannot live in the same house. Time to make up our mind. Principles of sowing and harvesting still working today. And not only in Old Testament or David's life. David built a kingdom. And I could say Solomon built an empire. But during his imperialistic time, prosperity and sin started to live in the same house, and we know from history why. Because of that, kingdom got divided. People taken to exile because nation was overrun by the foreigners. And in this violent and conflicting situation, is it possible for Christians really to have a Christian or godly attitude? Is it possible for Christian behavior to stay Christian during this difficult time? Is it possible for Christian ministries to stay Christian in such a difficult time? And we heard enough even today that His righteousness is helping us when there is a problem to keep Christian attitudes and to be ready for solution. Because His righteousness gives solution to the problem we could have. His truth of righteousness could really help us to see possibilities during our severe limitations. His godliness really helps us to have hope during the time of despair. And I would like to read just 3 passages from the Bible that really will help us. First of all, to keep Christian attitudes during the difficult time. Let's open Psalm 139. Psalm 139, we read at the beginning of this psalm. It is a prayer of David, one of his prayers that I believe so dear to each one of us. And he said, "You have looked up into my heart, Lord, and you know all about me. You know when I am resting or when I am working, and from heaven you discover my thoughts." And then verse 19, radical change of his prayer. "Lord, how I wish that you would kill all cruel and heartless people and protect me from them. They are always rebelling and speaking evil of you. You know I hate anyone who hates you, Lord, and refuse to obey. They are my enemies too, and I truly hate them." But still, David is an example for us how to manage our attitude in order to see solution in a problem that we are facing. Because the end of this psalm really helps us to know what to do in a time of trouble. "Look deep into my heart, God," David continues his prayer, "and find out everything I am thinking. Don't let me follow evil ways, but lead me in the way that time has proven true." This is all about righteousness, and we can clearly learn from David that we should stand for what is right in prayer. Second, Christian behavior during the time of limitations. And Jesus it truly can be an example for us, because from limitation to possibilities, it could be one step or could be Dolorosa. Luke 22, let's look on this passage, Luke 22:39. Jesus went out to the Mount of Olives, and as he often did, and his disciples went with him. When they got there, he told them, "Pray that you won't be tested." Jesus walked on a little way before, and he knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you will, please don't make me suffer by having me drink from this cup. But do what you want, and not what I want." Then the angel from heaven came to help him. Limitations and possibilities. Jesus was in great pain, and he prayed so sincerely that his sweat fell to the ground like drops of blood. Jesus got up from praying and went over to his disciples. They were asleep. Let us stand for what is right in prayer. And a third last point, Christian ministries during the difficult times, and we can look on example of the church. Acts chapter 12. In order to find hope in time of despair. Acts 12:1-5. At that time, King Herod caused terrible suffering for some members of the church. He ordered soldiers to cut off the head of James, the brother of John. When Herod saw that this pleases the Jewish people, he had Peter arrested during the festival of the Sin Bread. He put Peter in jail and ordered 4 squads of soldiers to guard him. Herod planned to put him on a trial in public after the festival. While Peter was being kept in jail, the church never stopped praying to God for him. In another translation, the church fervently was praying for Peter. And we know what kind of miracle had happened when Peter was released. And during my lifetime, fall of communism and fall of the Soviet Union empire was exactly the same what happened with Peter during the 1st century, and many of us, we witnessed that during the 20th century. But let's read then what Acts 12:21 has to tell us. Herod came dressed in his royal robes. He sat down on his throne and made a speech. The people shouted, "You speak more like a god than a man." At once, the angel from the Lord struck him down, because he took the honor that belonged to the Lord. And 12:24, regardless of all of this, God's message kept spreading. Let's stand for what is right in our prayer. Amen.